Have you ever heard of Tobias in the Bible, the man who chased out a demon with a single fish? Yes, you heard right. With a fish, he drove away a demon that had been tormenting Sarah for a long time. This demon in question killed every man Sarah got married to. But let's start the story from the beginning. There once lived a man named Tobit, a quiet and righteous man in the bustling city of Nineveh, the very heart of Assyrian power. While others bowed to idols and worshipped silver and gold, Tobit held on to the faith of his fathers. Even in exile, far from the land of his ancestors, he obeyed the laws of God. Tobit wasn't rich, but his heart was generous. He fed the hungry. He clothed the naked. But the one thing that made people whisper about him in the streets was how he buried the dead. Yes, even when the Assyrian king forbade it, Tobit would sneak out at night and give the bodies of fellow Israelites a proper burial. To him, it wasn't just an act of kindness, it was a sacred duty. But righteousness often draws trouble like honey draws flies. One day, after performing another secret burial, Tobit returned home tired but content. He washed up, ate his meal, and laid down beside the wall in the courtyard to rest. As he slept, a bird perched on the wall above him. And something strange happened. Bird droppings fell into Tobit's open eyes. Within days, he lost his sight. His neighbors mocked him, his relatives abandoned him, and even his good deeds faded into distant memory. The man who once moved around with honor now sat helpless, blind, and bitter. In those long, dark days, Tobit's soul sank deep into sorrow. He began to question his life, his choices, even his very existence. "Oh Lord," he cried one day, "it would be better if I just died. Take me now, for what good is life if I cannot see, cannot work, cannot serve?" But God was already setting something in motion. Far away, in a city called Ecbatana, lived a young woman named Sarah. Beautiful, wealthy, and well-spoken, but haunted by a terrible curse. She had been married 7 times, and each time, on the wedding night, a demon named Asmodeus rose up and killed her husband before he could even touch her. 7 men, 7 funerals, 1 terrified woman. People whispered that Sarah was cursed, possessed, or worse, a demon in disguise. Her own servant mocked her, saying, "How long will you kill your husbands? Maybe you should marry the grave next time." Broken and ashamed, Sarah fell to her knees and cried out, "Lord, take me instead. I am tired of shame, tired of tears, tired of watching hope die in my arms." And just like that, 2 prayers rose to heaven, one from a blind old man in Nineveh, the other from a weeping young woman in Ecbatana. And the heavens answered. God sent Raphael, one of his 7 mighty angels, to heal both Tobit and Sarah. But how would he do it? Through a warrior? A prophet? A miracle? No. God would use a journey. And a young man named Tobias. Tobit had a son, his only child. His name was Tobias, and he was everything a father could hope for: respectful, obedient, and brave. One day, Tobit called him and said, "My son, there's money I left with a man named Gabael in Media years ago. We need it now. You must go and bring it back." "But father," Tobias asked, "how will I find the way? Media is far." Tobit nodded. "Find a trustworthy man who knows the road. Pay him. Let him guide you." Tobias stepped outside, unsure of where to begin. But even before he could ask around, a stranger approached him, a man with kind eyes and a confident voice. "I hear you're looking for someone to guide you to Media," the man said. Tobias blinked. "Yes. Do you know the way?" "I do. I've traveled it many times." "And what is your name, sir?" The man smiled. "Call me Azarias." Tobias had no idea. This was Raphael in disguise. With Tobit's blessing and prayer, Tobias and the mysterious Azarias set off on the journey. Neither knew, or perhaps only one knew, that this road would be more than a quest for money. It would lead to love, war with a demon, healing of the blind, and the kind of miracle that still stuns believers to this very day. But the journey had only just begun. The sun climbed high as Tobias and the stranger called Azarias journeyed through the wild, silent lands between Nineveh and Media. The boy was eager, his spirit strong, but he didn't know that his steps were being guided not just by a man, but by an angel in disguise. After days of dusty paths and silent nights, they came upon the mighty river Tigris, its waters flowing like silver ribbons between the rocks. Tired and thirsty, Tobias knelt down to wash his face. But as soon as his feet touched the water, something surged beneath the surface. A monstrous fish, wide as a boat and snapping like a crocodile, burst from the river and lunged for Tobias' leg. "Azarias!" Tobias screamed, stumbling back, water splashing into his eyes. "Grab it! Don't run!" Azarias shouted. "Catch it by the gills!" Tobias blinked in shock. Catch it? Was he serious? But there was something about the guide's voice, calm, certain, commanding, that gave Tobias the strength to move. With a leap and a yell, he tackled the fish, wrestling with the creature until it thrashed its last. Panting, Tobias dragged the beast to the shore. He looked at Azarias, still stunned. "What kind of fish is this? It almost took off my leg." Azarias knelt beside it. "This is no ordinary fish, Tobias. Inside this creature are things you will need. Open it." Tobias hesitated, then reached into the belly. As the guts spilled out, Azarias said, "Take the heart, the liver, and the gallbladder. Keep them safe." Tobias wrinkled his nose. "Why? What do I need fish guts for?" Azarias looked him straight in the eye. "Because with these, you will heal the sick and chase away demons." Tobias froze. Demons? Azarias didn't say more. He only smiled and wrapped the organs in a cloth. The rest of the fish they roasted over fire and ate with thanks. As night fell and the stars blinked awake, Tobias sat by the flames, staring into them, confused and curious. The next morning, they continued on their journey. The road bent through valleys, over hills, past shepherds and strangers, until they reached the gates of Ecbatana, the city of shining stones and shadowed secrets. And waiting behind those city walls was Sarah. Tobias didn't know her yet, but Azarias, Raphael, did. He knew that the very reason for this journey was about to unfold. He turned to Tobias and said, "Tonight, we stay at the house of a man named Rigel. He is your relative, one of your own tribe." Tobias nodded. "Fine. But why does it feel like you've known this all along?" Azarias didn't answer. Instead, he said with a smile, "Rigel has a daughter. Her name is Sarah. She is wise. She is beautiful. And she is yours." Tobias nearly choked. "Mine? What do you mean, mine?" "I mean, she is meant for you. She is your cousin, and you have the right to marry her." Tobias looked around as if the sky would answer him. "Azarias, I don't even know her." Azarias lowered his voice. "She's been married before, 7 times, but each of her husbands died on their wedding night." Tobias' jaw dropped. "Died? All 7? "Yes. A demon named Asmodeus hates her joy, and kills her husbands before the marriage can be consummated." Tobias stepped back. "Then why would I go near her? I don't want to die." Azarias laid a firm hand on his shoulder. "That's why you have the fish." Tobias frowned. "The what?" "The heart and liver. Burn them on the fire the moment you enter the marriage chamber. The smell will drive the demon away. He will flee, and never return." Tobias was silent. Then he whispered, "You're not just a man, are you?" But Azarias smiled and said nothing. That evening, they arrived at Ragel's house. The old man greeted them warmly, his eyes lighting up when he learned they were kinsmen. And when he saw Tobias, his heart stirred with joy. "He is like one of the prophets," Rigel said to his wife, Edna. And when Sarah came out, her face like the morning sun, yet shaded with sorrow, Tobias' heart skipped. Their eyes met. Something divine moved in the air. Rigel turned to Azarias and said, "You've brought a noble son to my house. But are you aware of Sarah's burden?" Azarias nodded. He knows. And he accepts. That night, the marriage ceremony was arranged. They signed the scroll, poured the wine, and Tobias and Sarah were led to the bridal chamber. But Rigel, haunted by what had happened before, secretly ordered a grave to be dug in the garden. "Let us bury him quietly," he whispered to a servant. if the demon returns tonight." Inside the chamber, Tobias took Sarah's hand and whispered a prayer. Then, he reached into his pouch, took out the fish's heart and liver, and placed them on burning coals. A sharp, foul smell filled the room. And far beyond that space, Asmodeus, the demon of lust and death, screamed in rage. The scent tore through him like fire. In an instant, he fled, out of the city, past the mountains, down into the deepest parts of Egypt. But Tobias didn't see it. He only saw Sarah's tear-filled eyes, and peace at last resting on her face. The demon was gone. The curse was broken. But back in the house, Rigel paced, dreading the worst, until morning came, and he heard laughter from the bridal room. The first rays of dawn sliced through the curtains, painting golden lines across the floor of Ragel's house. But inside the bridal chamber, something even brighter glowed, joy, the kind that had not lived in Sarah's heart for years. She was alive. Tobias was alive. The demon was truly gone. Outside the room, Rigel trembled with fear. He hadn't slept. He sat on the edge of his seat all night, waiting for the dreadful news. Finally, he whispered to his servant, "Go. Quietly. See if the boy is still alive." The servant tiptoed to the chamber, placed his ear near the door, and froze. Voices. Laughter. Movement. He ran back down the hall. "Master! They are alive. They are talking. They are laughing." Rigel sprang to his feet. "Blessed be God. He has shown us mercy." He rushed to the room, followed by his wife Edna, and saw with his own eyes that Tobias and Sarah were safe. No death, no blood, no horror. Just peace. And love. At once, Rigel gave orders. "Kill the fatted calf. Prepare a feast. Call the neighbors. Let there be music in my house again." For the next 14 days, the house of mourning became a house of celebration. Meanwhile, Edna pulled Tobias aside, her eyes shining. "My son, may the Lord of Heaven protect you all the days of your life. Never forget how he brought you here, not just for silver, but for love and purpose." But Tobias couldn't rest just yet. He turned to Azarias and said, "My father is still blind. We must go back to him. I have the silver, yes, but more importantly, I have the cure." You see, while the wedding joy rose like incense, Azarias had quietly found Gabael, the man who held Tobit's silver. Gabael gave it back without hesitation, along with warm blessings for Tobias. So when the feast was done and the goodbyes were said, Tobias and Sarah began their return journey, richer not just in wealth, but in destiny. Sarah rode beside him, free from the demon that haunted her, her heart still struggling to believe it was all real. As they walked, Tobias said, "Azarias, you never told me. How did you know about the fish? The demon? Sarah? My father's eyes? Who are you really?" Azarias only smiled. "You'll know. Soon." They reached Nineveh, and as they approached the house, an old woman, Anna, Tobias' mother, sat outside, straining her eyes at the road, even though she could barely see far. Every day since her son left, she had sat in that same spot, whispering, "Will I ever see him again?" That day, she did. "Tobias!" she cried, running to him, stumbling into his arms. "You're alive! Oh, my son, I thought I'd never see your face again." And behind her came Tobit, groping his way out of the house, his blind eyes searching the air. "My son," he called out. "Tobias, is it really you?" "I'm here, father," Tobias said, stepping close. "And I've brought something. For your eyes." He reached into his pouch, took out the gallbladder of the fish, just as Azarias had instructed, and gently rubbed it over Tobit's eyes. Tobit cried out in pain. "Ah, it burns," then staggered back. He rubbed his eyes once more. Then, he blinked. Again. And the world came flooding back. The trees. The sky. The outline of his son's face. "I see you, my boy. I see you," Tobit shouted. "Blessed be God. The curse is lifted. I can see." Anna screamed with joy. Neighbors rushed from nearby houses. A crowd gathered as Tobit told the story of the bird, the blindness, the fish, and the miracle. But there was one thing still unsaid. Tobit turned to Tobias. "Who is this woman beside you?" Tobias took Sarah's hand. "This is my wife, father, the daughter of Raguel." Tobit's eyes widened. "Sarah? The same Sarah everyone feared to marry? She is free, father. The demon is gone. God delivered her." Tobit turned to Azarias and fell to his knees. "My friend, my brother, I don't even have words. You guided my son. You saved him from death. You helped him find love. You healed my eyes. Who are you?" Azarias looked around, at Anna, Tobias, Sarah, and Tobit, and then, for the first time, his face changed. His eyes grew brighter, his voice deeper, and his presence more powerful. "You want to know who I am?" he said. They nodded. "I am Raphael, one of the 7 angels who stand in the presence of God." Gasps filled the room. Tobit fell on his face. Tobias trembled. Anna wept. But Raphael raised his hands. "Do not be afraid. I was sent because your prayers rose to heaven. Tobit, when you buried the dead, God saw. Sarah, when you wept in your chamber, God heard. Tobias, when you obeyed without question, God honored you. And now your lives are forever changed." He smiled, a smile so full of light it could have lit a city. "Give thanks to God, not to me, for I am only his messenger." And with that, he disappeared. Gone. No trace. No footsteps. Only awe. And silence. But also joy. They never saw him again. One moment, Raphael had stood before them, glowing like the morning sun. The next, he was gone. Not a door opened. Not a breeze stirred. Just silence, thick with wonder. Tobit fell to his knees and pressed his face to the floor. "Lord God of Israel, who are we, that you would send an angel into our home? That you would choose us, for this?" Tobias helped his father up. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from something greater, awe. He looked at Sarah, and for the first time, he saw her not just as his wife, but as part of a divine story that stretched far beyond them. That day, Tobit gathered everyone in the courtyard. Neighbors came. Friends came. Even people who once mocked his blindness and whispered behind his back came to see what the noise was about. Tobit stood before them and raised his voice. "Listen, all you people of Nineveh. God is real. God is watching. And there are angels walking among us." He told them everything. About the coins. About the bird and his blindness. About Tobias' journey. About the demon. About the fish. About Raphael, the angel sent from the very presence of God. And then, something changed in Tobit's voice. His eyes grew sharper. His tone grew solemn. "I must tell you something else," he said. "Something the Lord has pressed upon my spirit." The crowd leaned in. Tobit looked toward the east. "There will come a day," he said slowly, "when Nineveh will fall. This city, mighty and proud, will be swallowed up by its own sins. The idols will be broken. The fountains will run dry. The laughter will stop." A gasp ran through the crowd. Tobit wasn't finished. "But for those who fear God, who walk in his ways, who show mercy to the poor, bury the dead, and honor his name, they will rise like the morning sun." He turned to Tobias. "My son," he said, "your journey is not over. One day, this place will crumble, but you and your children must return to the land of our fathers, to Jerusalem. That is where our true home lies. And when the time comes, bury me and your mother there." Tobias nodded. "I promise, father." Tobit placed both hands on his son's shoulders. "You have done well. You obeyed even when the path was dark. You followed even when the end was uncertain. You feared the Lord, and that is what made you strong." Then he looked at Sarah. "And you, daughter, do not be afraid of the past. You are not cursed. You are chosen." Tears slid down Sarah's cheeks. For the first time in years, her heart felt light. That night, the family gathered for a quiet dinner. No crowds. No speeches. Just laughter, light, and peace. Anna looked at her husband and said, "You know, I prayed for years that your sight would return. But I never imagined God would send an angel." Tobit smiled. Sometimes, God doesn't answer with thunder. Sometimes, he sends a boy. And a fish. And a mystery. They all laughed. But Tobias couldn't sleep. He stood outside under the stars, looking up, remembering the long road, the rushing river, the fish that attacked him, the demon's cry, the burning gall on his father's eyes, and Raphael's glowing face. He whispered into the night, "Thank you, Lord, for every strange step of the journey." And high above, a star shimmered just a little brighter. Have you ever watched an old man smile while staring into the sky, as if he's reading a story written in the stars? That was Tobit in his final days. He sat often under a fig tree outside his house, a calm breeze brushing his face, his once blind eyes full of light, and his heart full of peace. Not many men get to say they've met an angel, seen their son defeat a demon, and watched a broken woman laugh again. But Tobit had. Years passed. Tobias and Sarah had children. The house that once echoed with sorrow now rang with laughter. Even Anna, whose eyes had once been dim with tears, danced with her grandchildren in the evenings. But Tobit knew. His time was near. He called Tobias one evening. The sun was setting behind him, casting a warm golden glow on his face. "My son," Tobit said gently, "I am close to the end. But I am not afraid. I have seen God's mercy. I have lived to see light again. But I must remind you, this city, Nineveh, it will not last. Already I hear the arrogance in the voices of its rulers, the pride in its streets. Judgment is coming." Tobias bowed his head. "You told me this before, Father, and I remember." "Then listen again," Tobit said, placing a hand over his son's heart. "When I am gone, and your mother too, leave this place. Take your wife, take your children, and go back to the land of our fathers, to Jerusalem. Bury us there. That is where our bones belong." Tobias' eyes welled with tears. "I will, Father. I promise." A few days later, Tobit lay peacefully in bed, surrounded by his family. With a smile on his face, he took his final breath and whispered, "Blessed be God who lives forever." Anna passed shortly after, with Tobias holding her hand. And so began the last journey. Tobias, now a man full of wisdom and grace, gathered his family. He packed their belongings, closed the door to the house that held so many memories, and left Nineveh behind, just as the prophets had warned. Years later, the city fell. Destroyed. Forgotten by time. But Tobias was long gone by then. He buried his parents in the land of their ancestors, in Jerusalem. And there, he raised his family. But he never forgot the journey. The fish. The river. The demon's scream. And the angel. He taught his children, and his children's children, that obedience opens doors that strength cannot. That sometimes, the strangest paths hide the greatest blessings. And that angels walk beside us more often than we realize. They say Tobias lived a long life. Over 100 years. And when he passed, people remembered him not just as a good man, but as the man who once chased away a demon with a fish. And so the tale ends. But maybe, just maybe, if you walk by the riverbank one day, and a strange fish jumps out of the water, or a kind stranger offers to guide your path, you'll pause. You'll wonder. And you'll remember. Some journeys aren't just about treasure. Some are about destiny. Make sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss our next story. Thank you.